What's going on? Scott DeVore here. We are DeVore Live 2025. This is a podcast where we talk about all things happening in around Jacksonville, Florida, the entire state of Florida, and maybe even some national, international headlines. But this podcast is sponsored by none other than the DeVore Capital Group.
Yes, sir.
Near and dear to my heart, the DeVore Capital Group. It is a construction, real estate, and development group of companies that does everything from roofing to development to real estate to investment, you name it. And I have my panel here, my esteemed colleagues, my friends, my partners, and we're just going to go around. We're going to introduce, starting with the man to my right, which is one half of the Decent duo, Wesley Decent. Wes, tell him what's going on.
What's going on? Yeah, I mean, excited. It's our show. It's, we're kicking this off live in 2025. Just glad to be, doing this, bringing all things Jacksonville, bringing all things local to the market, trying to have some good dialogue, have a lot of fun while we're doing it, and hopefully bring you some value as far as some of the things that we can, research and bring to the table, and building up our community. I mean, we're right downtown. You can see the stadium. Well, maybe see the stadium behind us, but we got the best view in Jacksonville right here. So just having a good time. I'm excited for how this goes, man.
Awesome. And to my left, we got Will Reed. Will, say what's up.
What's going on, Mr. DeVore? Man, this is going to be fun. I think one of the deficiencies in the Jacksonville marketplace is, there's a lot of different information going around, but it seems to be all kind of like self-motivated, the people that are showing it. We have a desire here as an organization to make the company better, and I think we're going to have a good opportunity to do that, share the truth and share some insight. And, we're going to see where it's going to go in 2025.
Awesome. And then we got the man himself, Ethnan Atud Faman.
Hey,
He goes by E.
Yes, sir.
What's going on, E? Tell him what's going on.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's E, Director of Media Marketing here at DeVore. Man, excited to be here, man. We got a lot of stuff for you guys. It's a little pilot episode. We just, not here I am spinning the wheels and whatnot, but we're just getting started.
Yeah, we teased this a few times. We did a couple in 2024, and we're really excited to get this thing going in 2025. Happy New Year to everybody. Can we still say Happy New Year?
Sure.
Potentially, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
Absolutely.
We got the Christmas decorations down. They're actually in a pile, but like Wes said, we got one of the best views in the city. We're a stone's throw away from this majestic St. Johns River. We got the Maxwell House in the back. You can probably see the Everbank Stadium, which is going to get a $1.5 billion tune-up here real soon. But just to let you know, we got a few topics that we're covering. Sticking with the Jags, there was a recent letting go of our beloved Coach Peterson. I don't know if he was beloved. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some of the personnel decisions happening within the Jaguars organization. If you did not know, I think they're trying to ban asphalt shingles in Florida. We're going to share a little bit about that. And that's going to also tune in or transition into House Bill 13, which is on the docket. It's all related to property insurance and what Citizens, the state insurance company, and what that bill means. And then we're going to give a quick market update on everything that's going on in real estate. Fellas, you guys get ready to get going?
Let's
Yes,
go.
sir.
All right, man. Let's start with our beloved Jags, rocking the 2024 draft hat. We love them so much, but they let us down again.
Always.
And with that
In
letdown,
big fashion.
they let go of Doug Peterson.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on all that?
Initially, I personally think, man, it probably should have been earlier. I also think we got to ask the question, is Trevor really the guy? You know what I mean? There's a lot of controversy there. Should they have paid him big money? Obviously, it's a good quarterback market. But I think overall, the organization is highly dysfunctional. Like no one is accountable to nothing. And it seems as if it's been this way for a long time. So we have to look at ownership, leadership from the top down. And so I think, again, Doug Peterson was a cog in the wheel. I don't think he was the whole thing, but I do think that the organization overall just needs a, out with the old, in with the new.
Yeah, I think the question that a lot of people are asking is, why is the general manager still the general
I'm
manager?
telling you, bro.
Why didn't they all go? Yeah.
You know, and when you look at kind of where we're going, with you mentioned the stadium, renovation. There's 25, 26, 27 seasons. The next 3 seasons of Jaguar football are going to be different than they've been before, which is because of some of that. We're going to be limited capacity in 25 and 26. We're going to have temporarily be relocated for the 27 season. So knowing that's coming, I think you need strong leadership to build a quality team and a quality product going into the next 3 years. Because that's, just imagine if you have a brick and mortar location for your business and you have to start running out of your garage for a couple of years. If you don't do that right and lead well and promote yourself well and continue to produce a quality product, right, you're going to go out of business, right? So to have, limited capacity, which probably isn't going to be a big deal because they can't sell tickets, so going at the end of the season, confidence that the team is going in the right direction was only 7%, right? So at the beginning of the season, it was 91% of people surveyed.
This is their big
thought,
season.
this is going to be the one, right? They did a really good job of selling hopes and dreams.
They do that every summer, though. Like, marketing is awesome because they do it well.
I think Khan said this was the best assembly of talent that they ever had.
Yeah.
Big expectations.
There's no doubt about that. But I mean, there's a lot of factors. Being a football fan, you can look at a lot of things. Obviously, the coach is going to be the first one to take all the heat. There's no doubt about it. Especially Jacksonville, out of 13 seasons, has had 10 losing seasons out of 13.
Yeah.
So, you're putting a lot on the fans to want to keep just coming back in excited every year. We're going to get another decent draft pick that hasn't even proved to be good the last, several years outside of Trevor. I think Trevor's strong. I think Trevor's a decent enough quarterback. They just got to build the right system around him. But, the one thing that as a fan that you would know is that they lost a lot of games this season by a very minimal amount.
Yeah, for sure.
And they were riddled with injuries. They got crushed with injuries. So, you could play a lot of different factors into it. Was he a bad coach? Did he not make, was he too conservative? The GM, I don't know enough about the GM to make a decision if he's great or not. Obviously, Shad Khan seems to have some faith in him, but it was a tough season on a lot of levels. I went to a couple games and they could easily win those games. They lost by less than 3 to 6 points. But fans don't give a crap, right? Fans want wins. Fans were excited going into the season. I mean, I remember the start of every season, and I'm out. And man, everybody's like, "This is gonna be it. This is gonna be crazy. This is gonna be great." And then, it wasn't that long ago that I was sitting in the stadium, and half of it was covered with tarps because nobody sat up there, right?
Yeah.
And then now all of a sudden they're back out again, and we're just losing. And so, Shad's got a lot of work to do, and I don't know if that means cleaning everybody out or not. But it seems like he's going to stick with the GM, so he must know something we don't.
Yeah, or the GM knows something about Sean Khan we don't. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Maybe some of the people always say, like, man, he has some kind of insider information on him because, I mean, to stick with this guy for this long, you know what I mean? They talk about him when it goes to draft picks. He has, it's pretty much his pick. The coach really has no involvement into it. The only thing I would say when it comes to how dysfunctional this organization is, in a call with, they're talking to, the media and all that, Sean Khan says in there, I'm willing to bring in a new executive if the new head coach brings somebody that's viable with the current executive in the call. Like, that speaks to the dysfunction of the team.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just get him out. You know what I'm saying? Versus, why bring such, hostility into a meeting that you're having, and now it's, now the whole world sees how dysfunctional the Jaguars are. But,
yeah, and I think as fans of football, it's football fans are very unique in that we believe that we deserve the seat at the conference table when these decisions and these conversations, right? So when you don't know, but you think you deserve the right to know, the conspiracy theories start flowing. You alluded to it, right? There's a little blackmail, something going. It's just crazy to think about. The emotional investment that people put into their teams, right? And we've done it. We've done it for years. Right?
Yeah, especially you're spending $1,000 for a family of 2 to go to a game these days.
Yeah.
I feel like if I go to a couple games, I should have a say so of some sort.
Right.
I mean, it's getting expensive to go to a game, let alone, to just watch them lose out, season after season. That's no fun. But hey, I guarantee you, we'll have a draft pick. We'll get a new coach. Everybody's going to be back on the Jags bus at the beginning of the season again, all excited. So we'll just have to be excited as well, see what happens.
Yeah.
Being right down from the stadium, it's always fun. With all the traffic and all the good stuff that goes around here. So, football season is just a few months away again for drafts. So,
But the interesting thing is with Jacksonville, we're seeing some development happening downtown. There's, a lot of, movement happening. But with, the Jags, being so bad, a lot of people are like, man, should we actually make these big investments into a downtown that, obviously how many $1.4 billion?
Like $1.4
billion to revitalize the stadium. But then okay, now we have big players wanting to move in, and now they're a little bit concerned about, okay, will the Jags actually do what they need to do to bring business in into downtown? So it's like, what I mean? What do y'all think about that aspect?
I think it's good there. I mean, just a few seasons ago, the rumors were going around they were going to move the team.
Yeah.
So I think that's been squashed with the fact they're going to spend $2 billion on the remodel of the stadium. So I think the Jags are here. Now we got, the downtown's now starting to become more of the happening spot. So I think, if we could get a couple winning seasons in there, at 8-7 would be a good winning season for the Jaguars at this point, right?
Yeah.
Even get a chance to make the playoffs. I think a lot of people would be excited. They'll forget all about this. It'll be a past memory.
Yeah.
Let me just go over Peterson's stats. So he, came off a recent Super Bowl win just a few years before he came to the Jaguars. So in his 2002 through 2022 to 2024, 22 wins, 29 losses. They did make the playoffs a couple years ago, and they did get a playoff win.
Yeah.
And then a lot of excitement coming from that. And the GM, Trent Balky, I don't know how you say his name.
Balky.
He's only been a GM 1 year prior to Peterson. So he's been at the reins. He has even a worse, if you look at the percentages. But I think what Khan said is, okay, yeah, if we fire the GM and we fire all the personnel, then that's 80 plus people that we need to, find replacements for. So he was against that. And that kind of makes sense because when you think about even just with our countries in a transition, we're a couple of days from the inauguration where the new, presidential regime, cabinet, and everything is coming in. That's a lot of positions that needs to be filled. So, and I'm sure there's going to be some people who are going to be kept, but the last thing just kind of coming off of that is, I don't know, I even heard anyone say this, but what I would like to see is for Coach Prime, Deion Sanders,
Lord.
and they should draft Shador, and they should trade Trent. I mean, they should trade oh man, what's
Etienne?
no,
Trevor.
Yeah, they should trade Trevor for
man.
draft picks and something. But yeah, man, let's get Shador, let's get Coach Prime here to Jacksonville. Set it first right here.
I mean, that's a great take. That is a great take because I think they said Deion talked to the Cowboys.
Yeah.
A few days ago about the head coach job, and the Cowboys would be a great market for. You know what I mean?
Well, they can't do any worse.
But for sure. But
You're a Cowboy fan. Sorry, Cowboy fans, but
for sure. But
mercy.
Man, I think we need a man's man to come in and really do the job here in Jacksonville.
Yeah,
we don't have
no
that
more
many
ice
stars.
cream after
100%.
practice that
100%.
that, Peterson got slammed for.
Yeah, definitely
last
leadership.
but not least, I hope the new coach does something with Press Taylor, the offensive play caller.
It's called fire him.
This guy was horrible.
Yeah.
He was horrible.
Yeah.
Some of the play calls were atrocious, just decisions. Wouldn't so that's got to be. There's just a lot. We'll see in the next. As soon as I get a coach, we'll see really starts. How it shapes up and starts happening. There's some good decent coaches on the lookouts.
You spoke to it, Wes. You said 10 out of the last 13 seasons have been losing seasons.
Mhm.
However, it's still a revenue generator.
Yeah.
You know, like they're saying like over the next 30 years, you know, with the lease, the economic impact to Jacksonville in regards to the Jaguars being here is $26 billion over the next 30 years. The immediate impact boost to the economy based off of the construction project, they're anticipating like $2.4 billion in an economic boost. And that's what, you know, contractors coming in, which is a whole nother thing that makes me upset, is there will be a lot of out-of-town contractors that are going to come in. They're going to work on that stadium.
Oh, absolutely.
When you have people of
some of the best.
you know, some of the best in the business that, you know, here based in Northeast Florida that could, you know, take over that project. But, you know, so, you know, but it's revenue, you know, a lot of government involved, which I guess, you know, bring us into our next topic. Yeah. So the government wants to control your homeowner's insurance. What's that about? Scott?
Oh yeah.
All right. So last
Okay.
week I was at a networking event, and Dean Black, he's a Florida representative. Florida, he's on the Florida House. I think first term I think he led the DeVore County Republican committee for years, and now he's got voted in to represent DeVore County, and I think Yulee. So he mentioned the House Bill 13, which is a bill that's on the table. It's right now going through various committees, and I guess it could potentially be something that the House and the Senate and Florida wants to, they will vote on if it does get all the way to it. But when I heard it for the first time, basically, if you think about Florida and property insurance, it's been a hot topic for many, many years. We're directly affected by it, you know, just the DeVore Capital and our services. And what the bill seems to introduce, and we did a little bit of research on it, so we're going to talk about it as much as we know about it. But what it looks like it's doing, Citizens, which is the state-controlled property insurance company, would then basically take all wind coverage for every single homeowner. And the thought behind it, the way I understood it, is this could potentially bring back, if Citizens covers all of wind coverage for every single property owner, then all the other privately held insurance companies or publicly held or whatever could then only have to cover the other perils outside of wind, which could bring back other carriers, maybe drive prices down with more competition and things like that. So on a service level, you know, it sounds like it's something worth looking into. And I wanted to kind of get y'all's thoughts on it, because when you think about Florida, I think we have 8% of the national population. You know, it lives in the state of Florida, but the number of claims that actually go to lawsuit for the entire nation, like almost 80% of those claims only come from Florida alone. So like 20% happens on the other combined 49 states. So there's definitely, you know, a conversation around it. But Wes, I want to kind of kick it off with you. Why don't you give me your thoughts on House Bill 13?
Well, you know, on the surface, even when we first talked about it, it was kind of like, oh, that could be interesting. You could help drive down some costs, things of that nature. But if you look at the long term, in my opinion, you look at the long term ramifications of it, I think it'd be absolutely, possibly atrocious to go in that direction. I'm not a fan of big government to start with, so you're taking the state-ran insurance, you're locking out any type of capitalism for any other insurance companies to be able to come in here, insure, take care of their homeowners. You're locking it into something that then the state runs. So then they've got full control, which I can't stand that idea.
Yeah, for sure.
And so if rates want to go up, they're going up. If they want to reduce coverage, you're out of luck. And then you can guarantee they're going to reduce coverage on what they're going to really cover. And then you're just opening up a whole lot of bag of worms. I mean, I think this is going to be a topic. I think we're going to have several, you know, topics over, especially depending on how far this thing really goes.
Yeah.
But I can just see there being lots of things. I mean, just in general already, Citizens Property Insurance denies 77% of homeowners claims for the hurricane. And the hurricane usually causes the biggest damage. This isn't just your average everyday 60-mile windstorm that pops through Jacksonville. 77%. So they're already horrible.
Yeah.
And taking care of claims. So no wonder attorneys on the other end have to be involved, because it's the only other way you're going to get your claim looked at, maybe treated fairly. and then so now they're going to get full control over deciding what they're going to cover and not cover, and nobody else can come in say a thing about it. Attorneys will have no control, no power for the homeowners. So it's just insurance is big for a reason. Insurance makes a lot of money for a reason.
For sure.
Don't make any mistake about it. State Farm isn't insolvent. They're not hurting. I know they pay out a lot of money, but I know everybody paying in money.
That's
and,
what I'm saying.
hence I put the word out there, legalized extortion. But I got my own thoughts on insurance,
Yeah.
right? But no, I just think I'm interested to kind of see what everybody else would think about that idea. But I can just see it opening up a lot of bag of worms. And just as it's written on the surface, there's not enough for them to pass this. This cannot, in my opinion, this cannot get a lot of traction at this point because it's written too vaguely. And if they give somebody that much control with a really vaguely written bill, now you're really setting yourself up for some issues and trouble.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? I mean, because if this happens, then you have, you got Citizens covering your wind, your hurricane.
Yep.
Then you got to get other carriers to cover the other perils, and then a third potentially for flood damage with FEMA.
It doesn't make it easy, and I can't see how the more hands you put in the pie that it makes it, it makes it simple, or it even makes it more affordable, right? We're going to talk real estate here in a little while, but like home affordability in the state of Florida nationwide is a mess, right? So let's just make it more complicated. Let's give the state of Florida more control, which really, like, we saw what happened in the last election in the state of Florida. We see Governor DeSantis, seemingly conservative, Republican, smaller government, this, that, and the other. But is it? Is that really it? Because the conversation needs to be had on how we make homeowners insurance more affordable. That is a conversation that needs to be had. And I don't know that a handful of people that are involved in the conversation to go up have the best interest of all the citizens of the state of Florida, all the homeowning citizens of the state of Florida. When you look at Citizens, they secured $3.56 billion in reinsurance for 2024 for the 2024 hurricane season. Right, that's bolstering their resources and what they have. And then, like I said, they're doing pretty well. If we know, like, a hurricane came, homes were damaged, 77% of those claims were denied, right? And when you go back, and then there's going to be a process, and then they're going to get re-reviewed, and it's a battle, right? But if you've paid for homeowners insurance, you should not have to go to war
100%.
with the people that you are paying to protect you, right? It's just it makes no sense. If you're getting broken into and you call 911, they come without hesitation. Should be the same way with our home insurance, right?
Yeah.
You're paying for that protection. So it's a conversation that needs to be had, but I don't know that the government needs to be the one making that decision and having that conversation with themselves.
It's funny because the government always makes its way back into taking more and more capital from, the citizen. You know what I mean? And so now it's up to them to, to relegate whatever they want and to take as much as they want from us, which is always interesting because that's kind of anti what the government was, they're for. But at every corner, man, they're taking more and more and more and more. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens for sure.
Yeah, if you think about California, so California, unfortunately, is dealing with a lot of devastation, Southern California in particular, with these wildfires. Yeah. And you think about the billions of dollars. I think they said like $500 billion of damage right now that, insurance companies, hopefully those guys have insurance because it's going to be hefty, and just the regulation to get the permitting to actually build something in California is stupid. And I used to live in California, so I know. But think if California did something similar where, the state insurance company cover earthquakes and now fires. And if there's a 80%, denial rate of that. I mean, it's just stupid when you think about in theory, it seems like it makes sense, but when it comes down to actuality and execution, it never benefits the citizen.
No, I don't think insurance is set up that way to start with. I mean, I don't have the exact facts, but I heard, that realistically, one of the first things all the insurance companies did in California, instead of saying, "Hey, we got to get this taken care of, let's all come together," whatever, was put an automatic non-renewal and cancellation of everybody's policy. So the state actually had to step in and put a moratorium, at least for one whole year. And this is going to take 20 years to rebuild, but they put a moratorium for 1 year that people can't get dropped or automatically non-renewed. That was their first course of action. I mean, that's their first thought out of their mind is, oh man, we better go cancel everybody and non-renew anybody. So, you know, and then even here in our local market, you know, Jacksonville is susceptible, let alone the state of Florida. But, you know, when you've got state officials that are in city council boards, senators, and they also own insurance companies, let alone insurance agencies, and they're the ones that everybody's going to as the guru to make all the decisions. You know, I don't know. People of power like more power, and it's not going to be in our favor. You know, that's just the bottom line. So there's a lot of underlying things that get decided, you know, when insurance comes on the chopping block every year. Over the last 5 years that we've, you know, that as laws have started changing for insurance and property damage in specific, not one of them, for the most part, has been in the favor of the homeowner, the insured. Right. So I get it. It's I don't know what the perfect solution is. I think there's some options, but they never seem to explore those options.
Yeah, you know? For sure. Hey, whatever benefits them.
No, and those options, to your point, you know, it doesn't look after the interest of the homeowner typically. You know, it seems like and I know this isn't the conversation that's being had, but it almost sounds, it's like the football team, right? We want to have a conversation. We want to sit at the table. We want to know the information. Why are you making the decisions that you're making? You know, we're going to talk about, you know, the asphalt shingle, right? The most affordable roofing method ever.
Yeah.
And hey, you know what? Maybe it would save us money.
Yeah.
If we took that option off the table. Let's make everybody have tile shingles, or let's make everybody have a metal roof. Like, okay, who's going to pay for that? Right. Well, you are, Mr. Homeowner. I can't afford what you're making me buy now
to start with. Yeah.
So you're going to make it more unaffordable for me. So what is the thing? Do you want us all to live in, you know, thatch huts? You know, well then how much are you going to pay for, you know, the mud? You know, like this doesn't make sense. You know, like we just want to have a conversation and we want to be involved in the decisions that you're making. You know, most people when they go and buy a home, I mean, that's you know, what's the stats? You know, 2 homes in your life, 3 homes in your life is what most people will buy. You know, now most people are not able to afford that home. So if you are able to afford it, like, let's create an environment where people can actually keep it, you know, and then keep it maintained well.
Absolutely.
And in the event of, you know, a hurricane or a fire or a storm or a flood, you know, anything that happens, you know, like, are we going to be able to rebuild, you know? Because if you're telling me I can't, right, and that's really not what you want me to do as a citizen of the United States of America, to own a home and be able to protect it, then just tell me.
Right.
You know, we'll think something else. Okay, cool. Then I'll go live in an apartment and let somebody else be responsible for that, you know?
Yeah, well, let's dig into this topic. So it's not, unfortunately, it's not a bill that's on the table right now, but there's been some conjecture out there that banning asphalt shingles in Florida would be a good thing. And I think the main thought around it is asphalt shingles is supposed to last 30 to 50 years, but people are replacing roofs, you know, significantly sooner than the 30 year, 50 year, or whatever it is. Generally 15, you know, years, sometimes sooner, maybe 20 if you have been fortunate not to get a lot of storm damage. But Wes, why don't you kind of bring us up to date of how this came about, or your thoughts just around this idea?
Well, I mean, just the fact that they're hinting about it has to do with insurance premiums once again. So it all comes back to insurance. It's the only reason it would come up in the first place is that insurance companies know asphalt shingles in Florida, because of heat, storms, everything else, they're lucky to last, you know, 15 to 18 years. but man, there's been, so I look at it though, and so I can say, okay, you can put a metal roof on, that'll last 30 years. So even though the homeowner pays more, insurance, rates should go down because now their risk is less. Okay, I get the whole concept, but where all this started wasn't the fact that asphalt shingles stink. It started with, once again, let's just go back to the facts. 5, 6, 7 years ago, whatever it was, when insurance companies got all bent out of shape because they were having to replace roofs because people were paying for that coverage, by the way, to get roofs replaced if they had damage. And, insurance companies were like, oh man, this is terrible. So let's just go automatically and force homeowners to start replacing the roof after 10 years, even though there's no damage. So this comes as just another snowball to bad decisions years ago where, they're forcing homeowners to replace roofs, getting that drop dead letter. Hey, you better replace your roof or else. And then you get your roof checked out and it's like, man, there ain't nothing wrong with my roof. It's perfect. I had to recently replace my hot water heater so I could renew my insurance. There was nothing wrong with my hot water heater. Perfect. Good shape. Looks good. But I had to replace it. Just why? Because you say it's old. I mean,
because somebody said
so they're doing that with roofs, which that's a $20,000 investment compared to $900. But it started. So when you're looking at this and you're making a blanket moratorium over that, they're gonna have one big trouble, and that is like GAF, Owens Corning, CertainTeed that makes billions of dollars off of asphalt shingles, and they've got contracts out for years of purchasing materials for all of that kind of stuff, which that's another topic where I have to get into at some point because material rates are going up next year because we get a lot of our material for roofing in Canada, and with tariffs that are looking to go on there, we're already hearing the rumblings that we're going through a price increase, even though that hasn't happened yet. So just that being said, just this on its merits, I can see there can be some topics to have a conversation around. How can we make roofs last longer? How can we do things and where the homeowner can have that roof on longer so it reduces the risk of damage, reduces the risk for the insurance company, can bring rates down? I think there's a lot better topics to have than just automatically, let's just eliminate asphalt shingles, right?
Well, the roof rejuvenation, if you want to speak into that.
Yeah.
I mean, that product seems, give life.
Yeah. And there's a lot of stuff like that now is coming onto the market that gives homeowners, 5, 6 years and can be redone again. So that roof, that asphalt shingle that should last 30 years in a tempered, perfect scenario market, which Jacksonville never, Jacksonville, Florida, anything in Florida never is. We get 100-degree heat. And roofs aren't ventilated well. So there's a lot that goes into just tearing up those shingles. And, whether it's installed right or not, they're just more susceptible than like a metal roof or composite or things of that nature. So I get that part, but there's things now that I think we could explore way better, like I said, to give longevity, to help everybody out compared to just trying to eliminate asphalt shingles and think that's the overall solution.
For sure.
Because a metal roof costs double. So you're just asking all your homeowners to double the cost of anything they don't already want to pay for, right?
Right, and it's still exposed to the same elements, right? It's still 100 degrees if the roof is metal or if it's asphalt,
right?
And then you got rubber fasteners. You still have nails, so you have your tar and your silicone and your sealants, so you still have that 100 degrees, and then that storm comes in every 3 o'clock in the afternoon in the summer, and then it flash cools it down, and then it heats it right back up. So like, you're going to have that with any system, right? And that's why good magnets, good, doing the tune up periodically, making sure your roof is clean. There's so many things that could happen that could protect the homeowner. But again, you had the government stepping in and saying, nope, it's 10, 12, 15 years old.
Right.
You got to replace it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're doing 4 roofs today that were that same issue. It's just getting a little old. But no, I should be able to keep it for another 15 years. Yeah. But if you want insurance.
But if you want insurance, so
right?
you want to buy that home.
But then it's not a matter if I want it. I have to have it.
Yeah.
Because if I don't buy it, then my mortgage company is going to protect their asset. They're going to impose insurance upon it.
That's right.
Right. But if my microwave gets a short and a fire is started, that policy is not going to protect the home in which I live in.
Correct.
It's just going to protect the asset for the insurance company. So it's a mess. It is a mess. There needs to be a town hall forum where people that actually have, experience in with construction, with insurance. You sit down, let's have this conversation. Let's figure it out, because there is a big financial impact and there's a burden. We saw an influx of, people moving into the state, kind of during and post pandemic. And now we're also seeing people leave the state of Florida because it got to be so unaffordable that people move in, people move right back out. Yeah, this is the land of the free. Florida's the last place for democracy to reign.
Hoorah.
It's like, man, you got to be, independently wealthy to have this level of democracy. Maybe I'll go somewhere else for a
Oh
little
my
while.
gosh.
Yeah, that's a good transition into just getting into the real estate market itself.
Sure.
This isn't official information, but we're probably at a point where your insurance and your taxes cost the same or more than what your mortgage is.
Sure.
Where before it used to be just a small percentage of
that's
it, like
crazy.
25% of it. And that's where we're at.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in this state for almost 10 years now, and it was really affordable, 10 years ago when I moved here in 2015. And I kind of came in after a couple of years of the prices have gone up. Since then, the pandemic had a lot to do with it. I mean, it's really gone up a lot. I mean, you can move to the suburbs. You don't have to live in a bigger metropolitan area like Jacksonville where it is cheaper, but you're still going to have really high insurance and taxes. That's just the nature of the game. But why don't you kind of give us, kind of where we're at with real estate, what the market trends are, and
Okay.
Whatever details you have of the market right now.
Yeah. So when you, and we've talked about this before, real estate is it's looked at on a national scale, but it's a very hyper local market, so what's happening in Jacksonville may not necessarily be reflective as what's happening in Colorado or Utah or, California right now has a new problem, to deal with. But what I found was interesting when we look at Duval County, comparing this week to the same week last year. The median home sale price was $350,000 and some change, right? So
Jeez.
there was no increase, right? So nationally, property values are increasing, but actually it's flat, if we go week to week. Just New York Post earlier this week released some information in the top 10 cities where the median list price, so not the sales price, but what is it being listed to be sold at? Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville, Miami are on 4 out of the 10 in the nation for a decrease in the list price. And it averages about 5% across the market, with Miami seeing the highest decrease of close to 10% of the list price, right? So where Duval County, we're flat. It's not terrible, right? We're not seeing the decline, but that's in the sales price. But in the list price, we are down 5% from where we were a year ago. And I think we're going to continue to trend in that direction. And part of it has to do with the taxes and the insurance. They're not declining.
Well, let me ask you, are they, I mean, is that because that's a true reflection of what this market should be, or was it like a lot of things? These houses got overinflated,
For sure.
and now
Yeah.
they're easing off because they're coming back more to reality of where they should be. Is that what we're seeing?
Yeah.
Or is it another factor?
I don't know that I'm as quick to scream crisis as I am correction. I think we are seeing a correction in the market because there was lots of factors going into COVID, right? We're getting back to pre-pandemic inventory numbers, new home construction. We are at unsold inventory. We are back to where we were 2008, 2009, right? So there's a lot of inventory in the new construction space that is sitting out there that hasn't been sold, but in part because of interest rate being what they are. We came into January at 7%. What the experts tell you should happen economically isn't, we had a good jobs report that came out, but because we had a good jobs report, the estimate is the Fed is not going to touch the Fed rate, which is then creating a place where, okay, well, the mortgage rates are not going to drop because well, we're not selling at the rate that we should, so banks don't have to compete, so they can just sit at 7%. Right. So there's a lot of other factors that go into play. So no, I don't think we are in crisis level just yet. Talk to me again in 3 months and that may change. But we are in a good place to where if you have some cash, you have some equity, your credit's, you've been responsible with your finances, there are deals out there to be found, are we going to see another 5%, 10% dip in the list price? Maybe, but that just creates more opportunity for people that are looking to enter the market, right? We can't control the insurance price. We can't control the taxes necessarily, but there's good deals, to be had. So it's not all doom and gloom, right?
Are we still seeing blocks of homes being bought up at the same rate by the big conglomerates, where they're coming in, as an investor, are we getting back to a fair investor? You want to go out and invest in a home. I mean, when COVID just a few years ago, people were coming in paying 20, 30 grand over list price, cash, and they didn't even see the property.
Yeah.
It's slowed because
crazy.
the cost of money has gone up. So the investor market has slowed because it costs more money. Because when they were doing it in the midst of COVID, rates were still pretty good. Prime was down. Just your traditional 30-year mortgage was still 3%, 3 to 4%, even less. Yep. Some were getting great rates. So because the cost of money has gone up, these institutionalized investors have done because they're just borrowing debt. They're not. Yeah. They're not sitting on a lot of cash. So the math, it wasn't mathing like it used to. So that has really slowed down. But I got some stats. So the price of closing versus as the closing price of 60% of transactions is less than what the original sell price was. So that means there's definitely a big skewed number of what homeowners originally put their homes on the market for. So that helps, not let the market really go down, but most buyers know there's, definitely wiggle room. Sellers are trying their best to, get the max, even though, the prices have gone down. The market itself. So if you think about seller's market, buyer's market, balanced market, right now, the market is balanced, which is really good because it's been a seller's market, especially during the COVID years where sellers kind of had the upper hand. You basically had about 30 days to 60 days of inventory. A balanced market is when your inventory is about 3 to 5, 3 to 6 months. When it becomes a buyer's market is when the inventory sits at 6 months and longer. So we're in a balanced market. Interest rates, even though prime has gone down, the rates have not gone down. Like everyone was predicting in 2024, we're going to get all these rate cuts and the interest rates are going to go down. Well, it didn't happen. Like right now, it's like 7.5% for a 30-year mortgage. They were predicting rates to get to 6% in 2024, and now they're pretty much carrying that same prediction over to 2025. That it may go down, but it probably won't go below 6. And that's, I don't know if I agree with that. It may stay high, but you think about why we're here. It's because during the COVID years, they pumped all this money into the economy. So it's a hard job when you run the Fed. I forget the guy's name. You guys probably know off the top of your head, but
no criminal.
He has to, they have to balance, this economy with inflation, with rates. And even though one of our core services is a real estate brokerage, we would love for rates to get cut so we can really drive more transactions. But for the state of our country, it's probably good that we're where we're at right now. Just to kind of stabilize all the mindlessness that took place with dumping all the money in, during COVID.
I wanted to ask a question. So I am currently early 30s, 32 years old, and Grant Cardone and a lot of the real estate moguls, they're having conversations saying, hey, we're about to move to a renter society, right? So a lot of people that are my age, 25 to 35, which usually will buy homes and the American dream type of lifestyle, they're giving that up because of housing prices and all that kind of stuff to just go get, a little condo that you can rent and become a rent-only society. Where do y'all see that going in 5 to 10 years? Do y'all think we'll move to that? But also, I'll give a little sentence on top of that. I have conversations all the time with people in my age and in my community, and some of them are like, I'm cool with renting. I'm cool with I would stay a renter, and that could be a life that I want to have, especially if you're downtown in the city or whatnot. But also, there is a not a rift, but like people are saying, man, I also want to own, but I can't. And so they find themselves renting for a long extended period of time because, the jobs aren't paying them that much in order to be able to buy something substantial for them and their family. So question one is, do you see in 5 to 10 years, do you think we're going to be moving more towards rental properties and all that kind of stuff? Or should people still go out and try their best to, buy homes and things like that?
Yeah, let me really speak on this. As Will was saying, the average person buys 2 to 3 homes. So they usually buy their first starter home in their mid-20s.
Mm-hmm.
And then as they get married and their kids grow, they get a little bit bigger. Then they upgrade to, their next home or maybe even their dream house.
Yeah.
And then after they get to empty nest phase, then they usually downgrade to something much more manageable and smaller. Right now, just where we are, just with the cost of everything, people aren't buying those homes in the 20s. I bought my first house when I was 23, because I thought that was the right move to do. And I think it was. And that really kind of put me on the trajectory I went on with real estate and with investing. But it's going to come to a point where, no one's going to be able to afford homes, especially unless you're those who have wealth and have, over years created something, unless you become really successful early on in business. My personal opinion is, and it really depends on the individual, like what the goal is. I believe in owning assets. I believe you should get into real estate early. I believe that you should spend your whole life trying to accumulate assets, whether that's investments, whether that's through businesses that you start, whether that's in, just investing in, just stocks or other things, crypto or whatever. I believe that because when you have assets, then you have more control of your destiny. If all you've ever done is rent and everything, you don't own anything, man, when you're later on in life, when you look back, it's I think your true net worth is created through asset, accumulation. That's my personal opinion. So I would encourage those to really think about it. But if your values are different, like if your flex is flexibility and you don't want to be tied down and you want to, live in Jacksonville, or you want to, move to, the West Coast, or you want to live abroad or whatever, then not being tied down to an asset, it makes sense. But, if you're doing something else, if you're putting money into something else that's creating you equity, then yeah, I get it. But if you never do that, then I would advise against it. I mean, that's just my personal take on it.
Yeah.
What do you think, Will?
Yeah, I do think you're gonna have some people that are gonna be like, hey, a lot of it is personal preference, right?
Sure.
And it's lifestyle. Your life in your 30s, how you think about things, how you handle your money, how you think differently in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, right? And we are living longer as a society than we did 100 years ago, right? Are we living well?
Mm-hmm.
Are we living in
better?
a place where we can, still shop for ourselves and drive? My wife's grandmother, I mean, she's late 90s, and she needs a lot of care. She needs a lot of things. And, one of the things when she needed to move from her home, she was able to sell it. She was able to put a little bit of money away, and she went, to live with family. Now, not everybody has the ability to do that. So if you are in your 30s and you are able to buy that home, it may not be the forever home, may not be the dream home, but it may be the home that you're in forever. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that people need to think about, right? Am I in a position to be able to buy a home in my 30s to where I can own it in my 60s and I can die in it in my 90s? Mm-hmm. We don't teach people to think that way, but I think that needs to be how people today are thinking about. Nothing's getting cheaper.
No.
Yeah. So if you can kill it in your 30s and you can pick up a house and an investment property, or maybe a multifamily, property that you can create some income in, that's something that people need to definitely think about. Not everybody's going to be the Priniums and the Black Rocks and the Blackstones. Not everybody's going to be that.
Yeah.
But you can create an environment for yourself where you can use real estate as the vehicle to create long-term, we'll say wealth, right? Not everybody's going to be Grant Cardone and get a plane and a jet and all this other crazy stuff, right? But you can create a lifestyle that will take care of your needs for your kids after you're gone, your life when you're not able to maybe hustle and grind
100%.
the way that you can in your 30s, right? I mean, you think about that.
No, it's actually, you make a good point, because I think a lot of times, even with dealing with real estate, a lot of people, they are buying for the look of, this house on the corner, man, beautiful home, everything, I remember 2 weeks ago, some of my friends are looking at getting like some property and getting a manufactured home. And I would have said, are you kidding me? Heck no. Like my 20s, I would have said, what are y'all doing? Until I went in one. I was like, hey, hold up. This ain't bad.
I can live here.
Yeah, I can live here. You know what I mean? But they were at literally 250, 300, 350K, for this manufactured home. And, obviously it's movable. It can do what they want to do. They can take it and ride with it if they want to. But it's just, as you get older, what I'm trying to say is, you get older, you start to care less about what people really think about you. And your life is really about, man, okay, what has meaning? And specifically when we talk about real estate, I think when you look at what you can afford and what you can get and the things that you can do, you should buy concerning like what meets your needs and what are you doing now with your family versus what the world tells you need to do, if that makes sense. But
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this is DeVore Live. We had some great topics today. This is going to be a weekly weekly thing that we do. We're excited about it. And we're going to be giving you more updates on House Bill 13. The roofing, the asphalt shingles, if that's going to get banned or not, I think that's going to die here real soon. That's just a crazy thought to begin with. More updates on real estate. We'll keep you updated if my prediction of Coach Prime and Shador coming to the Jags. That's probably not
Ben
gonna
Johnson,
happen.
watch.
That's
Ben
probably
Johnson
not
is
going
the
to happen
guy.
either. But man, we appreciate you. Make sure you follow us at DeVore Capital on all socials. Follow me at Scott Free DeVore on all socials. Follow Will Reed. I am Will 904 on the socials. Ethnitude Fahman. I love saying your full name, man. What's your handles? How do we follow?
EA Fomum at Instagram and Facebook and all that.
And Wes, what's your handles? People follow you.
You can find me under Decent Duo. You can find me at Diamond Decent, and more to come on that too. So
right?
Hey,
Yes, sir.
Dropping a teaser.
Yes, sir.
Dropping the teaser.
There you have it, man. DeVore Capital signing off. DeVore Live. We'll see you next time.